I have 2 other videos. Moron explains the plot to Halo CE, and Moron explains the plot of Halo 2. Watch them. You'll be less confused when you watch this one. The game starts with Halo falling out of the sky like a freaking meteor. Why is he falling through the sky when at the end of the last game he had a sweet ride to take to Earth? Doesn't matter, getting to Earth by free falling is more badass. Unfortunately, Halo died on impact and rigor mortis had set in by the time the other Marines found him. Sergeant Badass is like, welp, since he's dead he won't be needing this, and takes the Cortana USB for himself. Getting his hoe stolen from him brought Halo back from the dead, but then Sergeant Badass says, wait a minute, this USB is empty. Where's the sexy hologram assistant? And Halo's like, oh yeah, that's right, I left Cortana back at the Covenant corporate headquarters. One of the Marines checks his eyesight real quick to make sure that he doesn't kill any more tourists. Then the Orbiter shows up and Halo's like, oh shit, Covenant. But Sergeant Badass says, wait, he's cool, he quit his job, he's with us now. Halo says, fine, you're lucky I didn't pull the trigger. And the Orbiter says, I almost wish you did. Halo fights the Wookiees to defend the Earth, except now the Wookiees want to look professional now that they're the second in command to the Prophets, so they shaved and started wearing fancy armor. Now that Halo was separated from Cortana, he was getting horny daydreams about her and it made it really difficult to focus on killing the Covenant, but he found a way to pull through. It turns out that Halo has a few illegitimate children because some of the grunts recognized him and said, Daddy, let's play catch, while running at him with glowing baseballs, but Halo was not interested in having a relationship with his children as that meant paying child support, so he shot them instead. Then Sergeant Badass pulls the commander keys by getting himself captured by the Covenant, so Halo has to save his ass. After the rescue mission, they regroup at the military base. They meet up with Miranda Keyes, whose hula hooping dancing has blossomed into a full-fledged career with the help of the giant space hula hoop they found in the second game. Lord Hood congratulates Miranda on her success and announces that he has scheduled a show where she will perform for the military as a form of celebration. But then the power goes out and all the girls in the room scream. It turns out that the Prophet of Truth hacked the military base so he can stream his American Idol audition tape to their computers in hopes that they will vote for him. The Prophet making Miranda's special day about him made her mad, so she told everyone to kill any Covenant that show up for the American Idol show. Halo kills all the contestants who think they can sing but can't. This base also has a pest problem? Weren't the military the ones who invented DEET or something? How do they have so many bugs in their bases? After dealing with the pest problem, Halo fought a bunch of Wookiees in a room that had no exits. They could have easily overpowered him, seeing as there were like 50 of them and only one of him, but they threw away that advantage by throwing themselves at him 1 or 2 at a time or just waiting behind cover for him to come and put them out of their misery. Halo has a few more horny hallucinations, then he fought some Wookiees who tried to be smarter by fighting them while using jetpacks, but their lack of tactical reasoning is again demonstrated when they use their jetpacks to throw themselves at Halo rather than staying in the air and maintaining air superiority. Despite their poor tactics, the Covenant were overpowering the humans. It looked like they were going to be able to take over the base and host American Idol instead of the dance show after all. Miranda decided that if she couldn't have her show, then the Covenant couldn't have their American Idol either. So she ordered Halo to use a nuke to destroy the whole base. He barely escaped the explosion. Lord Hood decided to move the dance event to a different location. That meant it was time for Halo to go on a road trip with some friends. However, Halo was drunk and ran over several pedestrians. His drunken driving also led a biker gang to attack them out of sheer road rage. But Halo and his road trip buddies were no stranger to road rage themselves and they retaliated. Several dead bikers later, they finally arrived to the new venue. But the Covenant were still pissed about the humans destroying the first ring and claiming the second, so they wanted to make life for the humans as difficult as possible. They set up anti-air weapons all over the new venue to prevent the guests from landing in their ships, so Halo destroyed them. The entire time, the horny hallucinations were getting worse and worse. After destroying the last anti-aircraft gun, the Covenant activated a portal that they used to escape through. Then a ship full of food-poisoned tourists appeared out of nowhere. They demanded that the Marines hand over the Wi-Fi. Some of them got super jacked, which made them look very menacing, but they were also super slow, so they might as well have not even bothered because Halo could just run circles around them. The elites, who had now quit their jobs and allied with the humans, said that Cortana was on the ship the tourists came in, so Halo went inside to look for her. While inside, he had hallucinations where he heard the hentai monster's voice. They were similar to the hallucinations he had about Cortana, so they made him very confused sexually. Halo found Cortana, but the robot butler showed up and tried to take her from him. He was like, hey, what are you doing? That's my hoe. Then the robot butler said, yo, chill out, I'm trying to help. Can't you see the USB is damaged? It needs to be repaired before you can get your hoe back. And Halo was like, okay, fine. The robot butler fixed the USB, but it's just a message of Cortana. She says, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope." Halo was all like, "Whoa, okay, who's this Obi-Wan Kenobi she's talking about?" She continues, "The hentai monster is headed for Earth and intends to turn the entire human race into his sex slaves. But if you go through the portal, you'll find a way to stop him." Then Cortana suffered a migraine from cocaine withdrawal. The shipmaster wanted to take Cortana's advice and take the fight to the Covenant as well as help stop the hentai monster. Lord Hood was like, "Man, you cray-cray. Cortana's a crack-hoe now. I ain't doing what she says. We need to stay here and stand our ground." The Arbiter said, "I don't know, man. Being a sex slave doesn't sound so bad." Halo was like, "Who the hell is this Obi-Wan Kenobi guy? I need to find some answers, and I think they might be on the other side of that portal." Since 2 out of 4 wanted to go through the portal and the other 2 couldn't agree, by majority they decided to go through the portal. On the other side, they found the Ark, which was the central hub to the hula hoop resorts, of which there were 7 total, including the one that Halo destroyed. If the Covenant gained control of the Ark, they could dominate the remaining 6 resorts and build the most powerful timeshare empire the galaxy has ever seen. The humans couldn't let such an evil corporation become so powerful, and of course Miranda was interested in using the other rings to further her hula hooping career, so they raced the Covenant to the center of the Ark. The Prophet of Truth got there before they did and holed himself up there. To draw him out, they planned on taking down the Ark's 3 Wi-Fi towers. Without the Wi-Fi, the Prophet would be forced to come out of hiding and look for a Wi-Fi hotspot. The Wookiees wanted to try something different since the jetpacks didn't work last time, so they thought they were smart when they employed active camouflage. However, they threw away the advantage they had with this technology as well by not sneaking up behind Halo and just firing the weapons within his line of sight, which revealed their positions. After Halo took down the last Wi-Fi tower, they learned that the Ark itself was also a vacation resort and there were food-poisoned tourists on it as well, so when the Wi-Fi went out, they got angry and attacked. Halo fought through the Covenant and tourists to reach the Prophet of Truth. The Prophet realized he was an old geezer who wasn't good with computers, so he captured Sergeant Badass and tried to force him to activate the Ark for him. Really, Sergeant Badass? You let yourself be captured twice? I'm starting to think you don't deserve the name Sergeant Badass. More like Sergeant Dumbass. Yeah. Miranda showed up to save Sergeant Dumbass's dumbass. Then Miranda realized that Sergeant Dumbass was about to help the Prophet of Truth activate the Ark, so she turns on him. But before she can shoot him, the Prophet of Truth shoots and kills her. They force Sergeant Dumbass to start the process of total hula hoop resort domination. Halo and the Orbiter were walking in when some tourists appeared. They said they wanted to help him stop the Prophet of Truth because they knew that if he dominated the resorts, his stingy ass would charge a monthly subscription to use the Wi-Fi. With the help of the tourists, they reached Truth in time. They found Sergeant Dumbass getting really weird with Miranda's body. Halo said, "What are you doing?" And Sergeant Badass was like, "Don't kink shame me." And Halo said, "I'm going to shut this thing off and then we're going to have a serious talk." The Orbiter got revenge for Truth's manipulation and Halo shut off the machine. Sergeant Dumbass took Miranda's body inside the ship she flew in. Halo was like, "Oh hell no." But then the hentai monster appeared out of nowhere. They tried to escape, but Halo and the Orbiter couldn't hang on to the ship. Instead of staying to help them, Sergeant Dumbass takes off so he can do what he wants to Miranda's body. The 2 are then forced to fight their way out. When they escaped, Halo's horny hallucinations were at an all-time high. He chased an imaginary Cortana through a series of hallways. The hallucinations led him to the solution Cortana was talking about in the message, a new hula hoop resort that the Ark was building to replace the one that was destroyed. Of course, if they let the hentai monster onto the resort and enable the Wi-Fi, then he'd be able to get what he wanted but didn't get in Halo 2. He'd be able to watch all the hentai he wanted, and so he'd leave Earth alone. Now it was time for Halo to go to the Covenant corporate headquarters to retrieve Cortana, who had the Wi-Fi password that she took from the ring that was destroyed. The entire place was covered in the hentai monster's jizz. Halo had to fight the food-poisoned tourists that the hentai monster had turned into his sex slaves. He suffered hallucinations that alternated between that of Cortana and the hentai monster, which confused his intentions. He'd be like, "Okay, gotta keep on going so I can become the hentai monster find Cortana." When he finally found her, Cortana was like, Halo, I'm so glad to see you." And Halo said, "Expecting someone else?" And Cortana was like, "Look, just get me out of here and I'll explain everything." The hentai monster got super pissed that Halo took his favorite new sex slave. Like, really, really pissed. That's not gonna give me nightmares. They overload the corporate headquarters reactor to destroy everything and cover their escape, which was aided by the Orbiter. Cortana explained that Obi-Wan Kenobi was an old work buddy and that she asked for his help and not Halo's because he lived closer. Halo bought the story and he, the Orbiter, and Sergeant Dumbass landed on the new resort, despite the fact that the resort was not even finished. Stupid tourists somehow managed to go there and get food poisoning, so they had to fight through them before being able to activate the Wi-Fi. Once they got to the control room, the robot butler, who now revealed that he was definitely still addicted to data like it was crack, turned on them so he could take the USB for himself. The robot butler's only weakness was an oversized laser pointy The robot butler's only weakness was an oversized laser pointer being shined into his eyeball. Halo killed the robot, then Sergeant Dumbass uttered his last dying words. "It's not gay unless you make eye contact." Halo activated the Wi-Fi, but they didn't realize that the hentai monster had a computer with 20 monitors so he could... Halo activated the Wi-Fi, but they didn't realize that the hentai monster had a computer with 20 monitors so he could watch 20 different hentais at once. Having so many Chrome tabs open overloaded the resort's RAM capacity, which caused the resort to start exploding. Now, Halo and Orbiter hauled ass to get out of the resort. They made it onto a spaceship. Orbiter went to the front of the ship while Halo stayed in the back. Only the front of the ship survived the explosion and landed on Earth. The Covenant were disbanded, the hentai monster died, and all the food-poisoned tourists were obliterated at the same time when the resort was destroyed. They had won the war, but it was a bittersweet victory for the casualties were great. They held a funeral for all those who died in the hula hoop wars. Lord Hood offered his condolences to the Orbiter. "Yo dog, I'm sorry about Halo. I can't imagine what it's like to get a new homie and then lose him so quickly." And the Orbiter's like, "It's okay. I'm used to the pain." Little did everyone know, Halo was not dead. He was on the intact half of the ship that didn't make it to Earth. He had been through a lot that day, so he decided to take a nap. He told Cortana, "Wake me when dinner's ready." But Cortana was like, Halo, I'm a hologram, I can't cook." But Halo had already fallen asleep. And roll credits. Like the video, subscribe, comment, all that shit. Here are some alternate takes for some of the parts of the video. "Wake me when Half-Life 3 comes out." Should I tell him? I think somebody should tell him. "Hitler did nothing wrong. Traps aren't actually gay. I am the milkman. My milk is delicious." Okay, now we can go to the end card.
Damn, who the hell's a motherfucker down the street? Oh shit, that's me, and I'm about to make like my bitch. Ain't no one stopping this one-man war machine. Two in the head, one in the chest, fucking clean. Top tier badass, sitting to the ass,